Okay, welcome everybody. This is the YouTube FAQ for AP Government and Politics. I have three students here with me to help you guys, to help us answer some questions for AP Government and Politics, some frequently asked questions. We have Jamalith Solafranco, we have Karen Hernandez, and we have Wendy Antarari. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the class. So what is this class about? This class is all about how our government works and how people in the government interact with it. Politics is pretty much who gets what, how they get it, and why they get it. And we're all trying to fight over who gets it, how we get it, and why we should get it. And then with people in the government, we have to also understand that they affect how our government works. We have, people inside our government that affects it, and we have, things outside the government that affect our government. That's pretty much what's about. General overview. We'll learn about certain things like, how a president gets elected, and some certain things that affect how a president gets elected, and the chances of a president getting elected. For example, Donald Trump in 2020, is he going to have a really good chance of being reelected again, or is he going to be up against someone who has a formidable chance against him? We'll learn about checks and balances. We'll learn about our rights. Can the police search our things? Can they arrest you without probable cause? Can they search your car without a search warrant? All those type of things. A lot of you guys probably have this question: is there going to be a summer project or summer assignment? There will be a very short summer assignment. It's going to be mainly vocabulary, and you will have a quiz first day of class on exactly what you learned. Should only be about 15 to 20 words over the summer, and it only should take you guys about 2 hours. Would you guys say 2 hours? 2 to 3 hours. Yeah. Okay. And then last but not least, there's the Google Classroom code. Go ahead, pause the video, and copy that down and join that. I'll be posting the summer assignment there. Okay. All right. Without further ado, let's get to the FAQs. Okay. First question is, how hard is this class? And Jam, do you want to start off?
And it's hard to a point that it's very challenging. It's kind of fun to learn about, and the content, especially, it's not hard to understand because it's something that's very interesting. At least to me, a lot of people are gonna find it interesting. I didn't think I was until I got into the class, and I really liked it because it was how everything works, and it finally gave me perspective and made me understand more things in the TV or whatever they're talking about. So I don't think it's hard at all. It's just how much effort you're willing to put in it, and how much of your interest input into that.
Okay, thank you. And Karen, what about you?
Well, it's not as hard as APUSH because you kind of have knowledge previously from school. You learned a little bit about government, so carrying that knowledge with you into this class, it's not that hard. There's gonna be a few hard units, but you'll get the hang of it.
My comments on this one, I don't think the class is very difficult. I'm not piling tons of assignments on you guys. It's going to be more about can you pass quizzes and exams, and how well you do on the writing and showing what you know. And so the hard part of this class is if you're not used to studying, then you should get used to studying. And that's what I ask you mostly.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. How is this class different from APUSH and AP World/Euro?
Well, there's not as much homework, but like Jam said, there's not a timeline, and you don't have to learn any context. You know what I mean? When you write the essay, you don't have to learn any context. And it applies to current events, so it's more easier to memorize, especially with political events going on. you'll be able to apply what skills you learned in the class to real life, so it's more easier to remember.
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah, there's a little historical context for AP Gov, but you don't have to use your historical context in your writing like how you have to do it in APUSH, because I know that for every intro you guys write for your DBQs and your LAQs, you have to include some historical context in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I remember talking to Mr. Vicente about. Yeah. Okay. Wendy, what about you?
Like what you guys just said, like the whole context, but also it's just like majority. There's nothing like history wise. Like there's just little bits of it, but it's not as much. You'll like if you don't understand anything like political, then like this class you'll like learn so much more rather than like learning history. I feel like.
I think this one's pretty easy. So how much extra credit does Mr. Wynn give? So Jam, how much extra credit do I give?
A lot.
A lot?
If you give extra credit, it's usually because you worked hard for it, not because it's like a worksheet that you did.
Karen, what about you?
Yeah, I agree. You do give a lot of extra credit, but you do have to work hard for it. If you want a better score on your quiz, then you would have to work more for it to get the extra credits.
Number 4, are there retakes? And if so, what can I retake? Jam, go ahead.
Yeah, you can't retake quizzes, which is very annoying because there's only 5 questions. But you can retake tests.
Yeah. Karen?
Well, going back to whether, how is AP Gov like APUSH, you can retake the test, but it's like a perfect test retake.
For like SEQs, like Mr. Owen will just let you take them, but if you miss like part A, then he'll make you like start over again and write it again. So that was a bit helpful. That was a lot of help because like if you didn't get like the first portion of it, then like he'll help you with it, but then you would have to write it on your own.
How much work is there? Jam, how much work is there?
Okay. Well, generally there isn't a lot of work, but it depends on you on how much work you're gonna do. Like you could finish everything in class and you can always study and do the extra credit, but it all depends on you on how much you're gonna do. But generally it's not a lot.
Okay, good answer. Wendy, what about you?
The amount of work you give out is not a lot. Like you would give out every Thursday for our Friday like LEQ or SEQ. So that wasn't a lot. It's just if you do it on time, or you can also do it like periods before you have him. But also like, yeah, it's not a lot because you also give out every like weekend the questions for Monday's quiz, and that just takes like probably like 40 minutes or like 30. Like it's not a lot what he gives out because majority of other like teachers give out like every single day an assignment that's due the following day. So, but yeah.
Reading every weekend out of the AMSCO book, and I give about 20 to 25 questions based on that reading, and then we'll have an open note quiz if you took notes on the following Monday, and the reading is totally optional. What does this class look like? What sort of activities do we do in class? And Jam, you can start off.
Okay, so most of the time it is PowerPoint, but so at least once a week or twice a week we do like interactive stuff like debate.
Karen, go ahead.
Well, it's mainly lectures, like, PowerPoints and watching some videos on current events to understand the unit, like political parties and such, and debates, especially during Unit 3. They'll talk about some controversial topics sometimes.
Yeah, like abortion, gun control.
Activities like how Jan mentioned, like there's like the posters that you like can get with your group and you can like read and then it'll just write off. But also I think one of my favorite activity that we did was the skit at the end of the year. That was like my favorite one that we did. So there's activities here and there, but it's not majority of the class. Like majority of the class is lectures and Mr. Wynn like going over it.
I think this is our last one. How often do we test?
Every week you have a test, and it's something we kind of had to like deal with. Like we already knew it was gonna come. It was never a surprise. We all knew what the content was going to come out of. But Mr. Wen does do a really good job knowing, like, telling you what you need to know. There's never like things that he's just gonna blindside you for.
Approach the end of the video. I think it's already been way too long. Any last words of advice for any future AP Gov students, or any reasons why you think a student who's on the fence might want to take AP Gov who hasn't decided yet? And we can start with Wendy first, and then we'll go to Karen, and then we'll go to Jam.
Oh, okay.
So an advice I would give like future students to like take government is, well, before I took government, I didn't know half of the things that you even mentioned. So taking it, I have learned so much. Now that I'm 18, I didn't know the things that, if I was in that class, I would have been lost with voting and all that. Like Super Tuesday, I wouldn't have done that, or I wouldn't have known about that. So I would say that this class gives a lot of information about like politics, obviously AP government and politics. But yeah, I think it's very helpful.
Okay, Karen, what about you?
Well, we deal with a lot of political issues, especially right now. So, you may ask yourself, why does that happen? Why can the president do that? How did Congress do that? And this class really explains all the workings of the government. Or if you wonder, why this certain law was passed or why something was deemed unconstitutional, this class will help you with that. Like if you're just out, and it will help you with like, voting and whatnot, since you're going to be at that age where you're going to need to be more aware about, politics and whatnot. So it's pretty important.
Okay. And Jem, what about you? What would you recommend someone taking this class, or any last comments you want to say?
I like 100%. Like take this class. I know a lot more people are like econ's more about math. If you're not a math person, especially if you're not a math person, come into like the Gov. I know I'm not the biggest math person, and I kind of have like a thing about history, so I did go into Gov. But if you're on the fence for Gov, I say if you just like learning the process of things, like just seeing like basically like the behind the scenes of what the government does and what we're not fully aware of yet, since we are like still teens. But like they said, or like especially your senior year, people are turning 18, you may be 17 your senior year, but you have one more year, that 1 year, or you're 18 already, that you have to know these things and be responsible for like voting and stuff. Like I know, like after this class, I know if I want to vote, or like reasons why people don't vote, or sometimes you can reflect yourself onto those political ideas, or even like you kind of see everything like comes to range. I guess like it gives you more of a reason to learn who you are as in a political sense, like what you believe in, because this class is gonna give you all the information. And because Mr. Wen does not tell us his political party, it's all biased. It's not biased. It's not biased at all. So you kind of go in with your own truth, and you kind of go in knowing what you want to know. So that class really is going to help you grow and know where you fit in local sense too.
Well put. And yeah, I would never give out my political ideology.
Can you tell us now?
No.
Bro, there's nothing to lose. Just tell us.
No, you guys gotta find your own path.
We already found that path.
Can't change it now. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to these three ladies here for giving us their input. Once again, that's Jam, that's Karen, and that's Wendy down there in the pink. All right. See you later,
Subscribe.
everybody.
Bye.